LCIF is our foundation.
Yours.
Mine.
La sienne, la leur.
Ela pertence a todos e a qualquer de nós é nossa responsabilidade apoiá-la.
La véritable force de la LCIF réside dans les lions eux-mêmes.
私は LCIF のメンバーであることを光栄に思います。
Our foundation is a light to so many people. In my own backyard,
지구 반대편에 사는 많은 사람들에게
The needs of the world are great.
And no individual lion, club or district can take them on alone.
And with your support,
together we will continue to improve lives around the world far into the future.
우리는 진정한 변화를 만들 수가 있습니다.
LCIF gives me the opportunity to support my neighbor.
甚至于社区
Mon pays et notre monde.
I support LCIF because I believe in the mission to rid the world of preventable blindness.
국제재단은 기아, 소아암 및 환경 문제를 위하여
Our foundation is fighting diabetes, a growing epidemic.
LCF supports disaster relief
long after other agencies have left the scene.
あなたの寄付が知的障害のある方々への力になります。
Our foundation converts our enthusiasm into a global movement of kindness.
Trabajamos para hacer este mundo un lugar mejor para nuestros hijos.
Lions Quest proporciona às crianças as habilidades de que precisam para ter sucesso na vida.
Together we are empowering our children to grow and take the lead on future humanitarian efforts.
Donating to LCIF is not just a gift.
It's a gift to humanity, an investment in our future.
We have an obligation to leave this world in a better place than we found it.
Please support LCIF.
Tout seul, je peux faire un peu. Avec mon club, je peux faire un peu plus.
財団と力を合わせれば、私の奉仕は無限大です。
Together with our foundation,
we can do so much more.
LCIF es nuestra fundación.
Our foundation.
Our foundation.
Our foundation.
私たちの財団です。
LCIF is our foundation.
These are the faces of hunger, of blindness, of pediatric cancer, of a deteriorating environment, of diabetes. In every country and culture, no one is immune from the challenges of our changing world. But there is hope. What if there was one international organization that could help address these challenges? There is Lions Clubs International. Lions have responded to local and global needs for 100 years. As our next century of service begins, we will focus resources on 5 areas: hunger, vision, pediatric cancer, environment, and diabetes, with a goal of serving 200 million people annually by 2021. As part of this renewed focus, we will work to ensure no child goes to bed hungry, to answer Helen Keller's call to be Knights of the Blind by serving the visually impaired, to expand access to life-saving treatment for children battling cancer, and to protect our environment to make the world a better place for all. Lions and Leos will begin these efforts by striving to control the global epidemic of diabetes and assist those affected by the disease. To help meet these challenges, we will build on our tradition of supporting youth by developing new ways to engage young people as volunteers and leaders in all 5 focus areas. And Lions Clubs International Foundation will be there to support our service and create dynamic, lasting change where it's needed most. The world is changing. We must act today to meet the challenges of tomorrow. This new global focus gives Lions and Leos new opportunities to serve, new ways to unite service-minded men and women around the world, and new ways to meet the challenges of the next century. And just like the first 100 years, Lions will be there, working side by side as the global leader in humanitarian service. Let's embrace this renewed focus together. The world is depending on us.
Hello all and welcome to our 21st session of Lead with a Vision, the weekly leadership series hosted by the New Jersey Visionary Cyber Leo Club. I'd like to welcome you all to the episode and just shout out a few of the places where our viewers are joining us from today. I see Iowa, Ontario, North Cyprus, Maryland, St. Lucia, and Nepal. Countries from all over the world, and truly, that is the strength of our organization. As we saw in the preceding video, diversity is one of our strengths. When our past officers were speaking about LCIF, we could hear so many different languages: English, Spanish, French, Italian, even Japanese. And that truly is what makes our organization special. We're a local organization with an international impact. While we may be some local clubs, we form this international organization that has boots on the ground in over 215 countries across the globe. Today, we're joined by a very special guest who hopefully we'll get to in a few moments, but I have a few reminders. Once again, this is Lead with a Vision, the weekly leadership series. And each week, we allow you to claim an attendance certificate for attending the session. And the link to claim that certificate will be scrolling through the bottom of the screen throughout the session. And I'd also like to remind you of a few events that we have coming up, and we'll bring this up later in the program. But we have a Leo Advisory Panel Symposium, a Diabetes Symposium, and many more coming out later this week. And later this month as well, and we'll be discussing that towards the end of the program. One thing I'd like to highlight, which unfortunately some sad news we heard earlier this week, unfortunately, past international president Ashok Mehta, who was a visionary leader of ours, who served as international president from 2005 to 2006. Unfortunately, he passed away this weekend, and truly, I was moved by all the support that we saw throughout all of our Lions family across the world. I think one thing we have to focus on from his vision and continuing his vision, even in his absence, is that his theme was a passion to excel. And that's what we have to do as Lions and Leos each and every day, each and every year. That's what makes our organization special, because we don't focus on the small things. We focus on tackling big challenges in our community and across the world. And that's something that we should have the passion for, and we should try to exceed at to the greatest extent possible. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful presenter for today, someone who had the privilege of knowing for many, many years. I'll read his bio, but I don't think I could ever do it justice. So today we're joined by PID A P Singh from Kolkata, India, who served as a international director from 2004 to 2006. Hard to believe, when I was 1 to 3 years old. PID Singh is a practicing accountant and tax consultant. He's been a Lion since 1984, and he's had numerous recognitions, but I don't think any of them encompass all the great work that he does. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to PID A P Singh.
Thank you, Ojas. So, thank you for that introduction, part of which what you said. I mean, you've been very kind. You need to be more careful, perhaps, with your words, then that's very fine. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for this invitation to be able to speak to. I'm told that this event is largely attended by the young adults. I was speaking to a couple of my friends, and that's what they told me. This is an event that's attended by Lions and Leos and Leo Lions. So basically individuals who come from the Generation Z and the millennials. So whenever I get an opportunity to speak to the young adults, it also gives me an opportunity to get a little more younger in mind, something that I love to do, because that's important for me to stay abreast and stay more contemporary. When we talk of the Generation Z or the Generation Z, whichever way you call it, this is a generation which is the first generation of digital natives. That's the way I would like to put it. The millennials almost came and merged into the characteristics of the Generation Z or the Generation Z, but they started with some other kind of characteristics and what identified them as a group across the entire world. But Generation Z, whose characteristics really have a bearing a large stamp and are kind of the defining features today in families across the world, because the members of this Generation Z are responsible for influencing almost 40 to 50% of the expenditures that takes place in the homes and the various decisions that the families and the individuals make. So this is a very important group. And we are an organization that deals with individuals. We talk of families. We talk of bringing together people of different generations. So this group is actually very important to us. So what does this group really, what does this group really indicate, and what are their real characteristics? Number one is that the Generation Z has never known the world. This is the first generation, rather, that has never known the world without the World Wide Web. The millennials also in their initial years knew the world somewhat without the World Wide Web, but the Generation Z cannot imagine a world without the World Wide Web. The Generation Z has never used a phone with a cord. The millennials maybe sometimes use the phone with a cord, but you've forgotten. We've all forgotten it. It's really not fresh in their memories. The Generation Z has never used floppy disks. Never. The millennials maybe handled them, used them for some time, but you will not find floppy disks in the office records or in the homes of even the millennials, but they may be somewhat aware of it. Ultimately, as I said, they've come and merged into the lifestyles of the Generation Zs. So these Zers, as I would like to call them, the Zers, don't quite fathom and understand certain things. And these are important to understand before I get to that subject of how Lions and Leos could build the Amazon of service. That's something which has been playing in my mind that for a couple of years I've been talking to Lions, Leos, young adults across the entire world. So Zers don't quite fathom and understand what are they. Number one, listening to music on cassette players. Talk to the Zers. They don't understand what it really means. The millennials maybe understood it, maybe used cassette players at one time in life, but even they are out. They don't understand what making a phone call through a paid phone booth really means. It doesn't exist. This is something maybe that was relevant to my generation. Why I'm speaking about this is that in Lions Clubs International, we have people across generations. Now, these are the important generations because tomorrow essentially belongs to the Zers and the millennials. They are the important decision makers today, the millennials, but tomorrow's, and maybe even before tomorrow's, today's late evenings decision makers are going to be these Zers. So yet we are also a part of this organization. These generations haven't really handled the transistor radios. You don't understand what paper maps really mean. The Zers have never even handled paper maps. It's all by Google Maps and stuff like that. You don't know what a fax machine is. To you, it's some kind of an instrument that existed at some point of time. If you ever go to a technology museum, perhaps you'll see it. The millennials definitely saw it, maybe used it for some point of time, but then it's out of their minds also. And you, the Zers, have never typed a letter on a typewriter. You don't know what that machine really was. To us, people my generation, we lived by the typewriter. Of course, we've also adapted to the other systems. The millennials saw the typewriter, maybe sometimes used it, but these are the characteristics that define the Zers and the millennials. So look at the change in working style. What really happens in the business field? On the business field, let's look at large organizations like the Walmart or the Bata. Now, there are stores, they exist, they're almost identical. You could go into a Walmart or a Bata store in any part, in any state, in any part of the world. You'll find stuff arranged almost identically. The systems would work. There are loyalty cards that you could use, and you could buy a lot of stuff there, sufficient amount of variety. So all of that existed in those physical stores, and that that these would service the communities, these would service the consumers across various states in the United States of America, even in different countries and in other countries, even if they did not have it by the name of Walmart, but they would have it by some other names, but on similar lines. But with these Zers, it's very different. It's an online purchase. It's one-click purchase. They swear by that. They understand that it's not that they do not walk into the physical stores, but for them, it would be a choice. They could sometimes be using one or the other, but for them, using the online purchasing methodology, a purchase is made at wee hours, at odd hours. Sometimes, for us, people of my generation, it meant you could go to a store only when the store was open. Now, this is open 24 hours. And, there is quality assurance, there is delivery assurance, there is a delivery time period assurance. So the whole dynamics of business has changed. The expectations of delivery, the expectations of what the businesses would do with any kind of purchase that would take place has really undergone so much of a change. Now, as that's happened, that has been a major shift. That major shift is defined in many ways. It's defined in the best way that I have been talking about is that Google has become a verb. It is no more a noun. It is also a noun, but it is not essentially a noun. It is also defined by the fact that this world is no more defined and known as the world of encyclopedia. Now, that was a world to which my generation belonged, and all generations, many generations before me belonged. We thought that encyclopedias, and say, I'm just taking an example of the Encyclopedia Britannica, you could talk of Encyclopedia Americana, each one of them was the storehouse of knowledge. We've shifted from the world of encyclopedia to this world of Wikipedia, where everybody contributes, where everything is available. It's available free of cost. It's available at the click of a button. You don't have to buy new volumes and updated volumes each year. So the world is becoming so very different. This is the world in which our decision makers for today are comfortable. That's what I'm trying to get at. The millennials are comfortable with this kind of an environment. The Zers are 2 steps ahead of them. They are comfortable in even more, techno-savvy, hard-driven, but it's not that they're less human at heart. They are absolutely human. They're driven by humanitarian concerns. They do want to impact the bottom line. They do want to impact the bottom line even socially. They want to be a part of the good that's actually been done. But the essential difference is they don't want to be talking about doing good. They want to be actually participating in doing good. People of my generation spent a lot of time about talking about doing good. There's a feel-good factor. But today's generation, which is otherwise in a hurry, where time is the most precious commodity, they are driven by actually doing good. They are driven by the study and the need to impact the bottom line. Now, that bottom line is exceptionally important because, the lifestyle, the expectations, everything seems to be changing. And as far as the Zers are concerned, as the first digitally native generation, if I may use the term, and I love using the term, the Zers prefer digital communication to avoid face-to-face interaction. And sometimes they are harder to reach because of their short 8-second attention gap. And the marketing gurus are facing a challenge as they are focused on authenticity in a brand, something they must establish to the Zers in such fleeting moments. The same thing happens in a social organization. If our organization is to remain as the world's #1 service club organization, and we have to get to the Zers and the millennials who ultimately merged into the lifestyle of the Zers, then we do not have those long hours to explain why they need to come into our organization, because with this generation, the first attention span is about 8 seconds. You have them or you lose them. You capture them in the first 8 seconds and then they stay with you and then you engage with them. And if they still find it interesting, they'll stay on. These fleeting moments are a very important issue. Now, how do you reach out to them? That is why the concept of Amazon of service, as we'll get onto, will become extremely important, And this is something, as we say, 75, why this generation, as I said, is extremely important is also because 75% of the Generation Z spends more than half of the money available to them each month. And by 2021, 22, Generation Z members will really make up to be about 40 to 45% of all consumers. And the same thing will have to be, this demographics will have to be translated into our organization as well. If we do not transfer this demographics into our organization, A, we may become hackneyed. We may become an organization only of the old people. We may lose relevance to the contemporary issues, something which we can easily sustain because we are the real do-gooders in today's world as the lions. And it is important for us, it's rather important for the human race to continue to reap the benefits of what the lions are doing. So what is this concept about Amazon of service? The concept's very simple. Today, what are we doing? We are reaching out services, need-based services to our communities. First of all, the word communities. What does the community mean? When this organization started, and that was in the beginning of the 20th century, community had a geographical connotation. Now you go to those of us, and especially the Zers and the millennials and the youngsters, the group that I'm addressing today, to you, the word community has a very different connotation on the social media. To you, community is not defined by a geographical area. To you, communities are defined by groups that come together by a particular cause. You are cause-driven. Your community or of individuals, of groups that you form on various social media platforms could be located in different parts of the world. To you, you go beyond borders. To you, physical borders really do not mean anything. You know how to discuss. You are most comfortable with those kind of discussions. The Zoom and the other platforms and the Connect and the various other platforms to which the Lions have become so very accustomed in the last 12 months specifically. The technology was always there, but in the last 12 months, it's been a paradigm shift with the Lions shifting there. But your generation, the generation of the Zers and the millennials, I mean, that's basically your lifestyle. That's where you are actually going. So what happened was that when we started this organization, we talked about a community, which is a geographical community, say 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles within that particular radius. That's what comprises a particular community. Today, when we talk of a community, it could be much larger. That's a very essential difference, a very, very essential, vital, significant, crucial, critical difference that we need to remember. And that's what guides us. The next important thing is that you are driven, as I said, by that bottom line, and you really want to impact. You want to see that the resources that are invested, including time. You are very particular, these generations, about the return on the time invested, that even for the social reasons, when the time is invested, there must be a return of that, because it's in the DNA. They're hardwired there that way. That's the way the minds work. There must be a reason for them to invest their time, their energies, and be associated with these kind of platforms. So what happens is the outreach must grow. Yet on the business side, as we see from the Walmart and the Bata style, we've shifted to the Amazon style of shopping. Amazon started with selling only books, but it shifted very fast. Today, everything, first of all, it's the variety. Variety, everything understand. Large menu, unimaginably large menu must be a part and parcel of anything that's Amazon style. Now, that's also a part of our DNA, and that stands us in good stead. As Lions, we have a wonderful menu. We have a very extensive menu of services. Clubs choose what services they want to reach out, wherever the need is. Global issues, but with a local impact. Global issues delivered in a local style. Global issues taking care of the local cultures, local needs, local customs, local sensitization, all of it taken care of in the delivery of services in different parts of the world. The way you could look at, for example, the Site First program, the way it's run or what it delivers in North America is very different from what it delivers in India. In India, Site First program, for most part of ever since it started, meant cataract surgeries. It was almost equivalent to cataract surgeries because we had a backlog of many, many millions of cataract surgeries in this country. In Africa, it became synonymous with fighting river blindness. In United States, you have a program of the leader dogs or the guide dogs, which was a very important component of the Site First program, providing those leader and guide dogs to those who are visually impaired so that they could live their lives much better. The quality of their lives could improve. So look at the spectrum. It's the same cause, but so very differently addressed. Now, what we mean by the Amazon is that there should be a wide variety, and that wide variety should be available to everybody. Those who are the providers of service need a platform. There would be one day a platform. It's not very far, especially when artificial intelligence is also going to become a part and parcel of businesses. It's already becoming a part and parcel of large businesses, but even the small and the middle scale businesses, maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, AI is going to will definitely begin to play a very important role. When that happens, the choices that must really be brought up, that must really be available, that what is anybody who can provide services would say that this is what's available with me. These are the resources that we can provide. And then there would be those who really need those resources. So there has to be a marriage between the needs and the resources. What happens on the Amazon platform? There are no stores. Amazon doesn't buy goods that it sells. Amazon doesn't sell goods that it holds in its own stocks. It gets together. It's an aggregator of services. Those who provide goods and services versus those who need them. It just provides them a meeting ground. They come together and the deals are struck there. And look at the numbers. It's fantastic. It's huge. It's absolutely humongous. Huge numbers are there. Now that's what's happening. Now same could happen on the social platform, where across the world, people could say that this is what's available with me. There would be others who'd say, this is what we are needing. This is what we could answer the needs here. They could talk independently. They could discuss within themselves. And through the discussions, ultimately, the resources could flow to the needs. If you look at it, this is also what we are doing now. When you do a fundraising in a club, maybe in a small place and geographically, within a geographical area, you are going out to individuals who are ready to share the resources, and you're answering the needs in that particular area. The resource providers and those who need them are different sets of people. They're entirely different sets of people. You are bringing them closer, matching them at a within certain geographical boundaries. Now, when the world of business has broken those boundaries, we too could perhaps one day break those boundaries and unite at a global level where the resource providers could interact with those who need the services, thus creating the Amazon of services, which Lions Clubs International could be. It's just an extension, but then it's an extension. It's a very different, model of extension. It's a different perspective, but we need to continue to think about it. That doesn't mean that our current model, anything wrong with it. No, our current model is the most successful model as of now. Otherwise, we would not have been the #1 service club organization. There is no question of shunning the current model. There is a question of building up a new model. The Walmarts and the physical stores have not vanished. The individuals who love shopping all the time online also love sometimes going back to those physical stores. So the online exists with the physical. Similarly, the online platform would exist with the physical platform also, with the way the current model is working. But what I'm trying to get at is that with the changing lifestyle, with the changing mindsets, with the changing way of thinking and operations of the generations that are going to be crucial in decision making today evening, and definitely tomorrow, we also need to be ready with the model with which they would be most comfortable, because it's not only about feeling proud as a lion. It's basically because we as lions know that what we do for the world, wherever the Lions Clubs are, the world really appreciates it. The world needs it. And as far as till whenever the human beings continue to exist, service would always be required. There is interconnectedness of life. Life is interconnected. One does require help, support from the others. Who requires it when is a different point altogether, but that is always going to be required. And so those mechanisms or the modalities of delivery and the modalities of reaching out, the modalities of working with the different mindsets of the individuals, that's extremely important. People of my generation, the generation before me, and maybe the generation just following me, we need to respect, even the baby boomers, we need to respect the mindset of the Zers and the millennials and create those additional platforms which the Zers and the millennials will love. Their love will grow and our association will continue to grow and continue to perform the kind of service it's doing and continue to be the #1 service club organization in the world. This, in brief, is my concept that I've been talking of, creating the platform so that we are the Amazon of service in this world. Thank you very much, Ojas. I think I'm running out of time. You gave me 20 minutes, and I think I'm just there, 21 minutes. So returning it back to you.
Thank you so much, PIPAP. I think that we were all very engrossed in the presentation. As always, we will accept questions from the audience. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the YouTube or Facebook comments, and we'll be sure to ask them with the few moments that we have remaining. And I'm sure I can see, based on the comments, that our audience thoroughly enjoyed that, and I did as well. I think that was an excellent presentation. I think I just have one question for you. Can you take us through your Lions journey, how you came to be at the place that you're at right now, how you joined, and why you stayed?
I mean, there are different parts of it, how I joined, and then there are different. So you want to know the first part, how I joined?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that we're all interested. How did you join Lions?
I joined because a friend of my dad, he was a president of a Lions Club. And when I started practicing as a chartered accountant in India, he said, it's time for you to also become a member of my club. This is going to give you introduction to very good individuals, and you should devote some time for some positive work, for some social work, for some community work. So I'm going to invite you to be a member of my club. He spoke to me twice, and I didn't respond to my uncle. I used to address him as uncle. I didn't respond to him till he came one day and told me that I filled up your form and paid your money, and you have been approved even as a member, because I'm sure that I'll be able to take you in. So that's how I became a member. For the first couple of years, I would go to about 30-40% of the meetings, not go to all the meetings, but I was liking it. Kind of, it was good. It's a very good club. It's still there, and it has a lot of permanent projects. I loved going back to, but then I always thought that I'm young, I'm involved in my business, my profession, I need to be concentrating here. Till very short, I met somebody who really changed me. It was one of the past governors. He was a doctor. He used to perform surgeries in the makeshift surgery camps. And he explained to me, it's a long story, I'll cut it short. He could impress me, and he explained to me how he started giving some time for Lions work, which is basically community work. And he started giving 1 hour a week. He says he made it a couple of hours a week. He made it 5 hours a week. He made it half day a week. He made it 1 full day a week. And at a particular point of time when he was speaking to me, he was doing it 3 to 4 days a week. And then he ended by saying, I still pay the highest taxes in the district. So he said, if you believe in God, if you believe in destiny, if you believe in providence, there is a payback by providence. You don't have to wait for a certain age, that I'll come of that age and then I'll start getting involved in social, programs, in trying to get involved in community programs. Get involved right from the beginning. You'll find that your own mindset, your approach, your own behavior, everything will undergo a change, and it will undergo a change for the good. That was a life-changing moment. I often say I became a lion at that point of time. Before that, I was just a member of a Lions Club. There is a difference between being a member of a Lions Club and being a lion. I was really Christianed to be, or baptized to be, a lion out of those conversations that I had. And that really started, the bug got into me, and I became more engrossed. I think that's enough. So just...
And I think that was a great story. I wish we could have heard a whole 30-minute session just on that story itself. We do have one question, but I'll comment briefly on what you just said. I completely agree, and I think you'll find more than what you would think. We were told to join this organization rather than invited.
Yes, I'll be very honest. And I tell you, I've spoken to a lot of people, and not everybody says that I joined this organization as a voluntary decision to be a part of community service. Different people just get pulled in for some reason, but then it's important for what reasons you stay there. It's not important what you come in with. It's how you begin to interpret, identify yourself, and how you believe that you are comfortable there and how you stay there. And that's my candid story.
Yeah, completely agree. And we have one question here. What role will partnerships with local humanitarian organizations play in the future of our association?
Very important. This kind, collaborations, partnerships are going to be non-negotiable. I'm not aware whether you remember, this was just about a month ago, we had a show where we brought in the future presidents of Lions International and Rotary International on the same platform. The recordings are still available. Listen to what they're talking, whether it was our incoming president in Doug Alexander, second Vice President Brian Sheehan, third Vice President Dr. Patty Hill, and the counterparts from Rotary International. Everybody said, there is nothing called a competition. It's all about community service, and even the Lions and the Rotarians could collaborate. And if the Lions and the Rotarians could collaborate, we could definitely collaborate and have partnerships with the local organizations. You see, it's a question of understanding who has what core strengths. If somebody has exceptional core strengths in something, I don't need to reinvent the wheel each time. We can join hands, use the core strengths of someone else, bring in our core strengths there, and together be able to deliver good work for the community. And I think that's almost non-negotiable for, in today's world.
All right, thank you so much. And if there are no more questions, I think that we're going to proceed to the closing of the sessions. First of all, thank you so much, PID A P. I think that this is
my pleasure.
It's been a great installment. I think one of our best so far. So as I was discussing earlier in the presentation, we do have a few reminders of a few important events. And I think I'll, of course, start with PID A P's own series, what he's kind of hinting to before, is they have a bi-monthly, that is, I think, twice a month series on the diversity of service, which I highly encourage you guys to check out on Facebook. I think it's a great way to see the great service that's being done on the local level in our association. Maybe give you some own ideas you can take back to your clubs and your districts and enhance your service worldwide. We have the upcoming Leo Advisory Panel Symposium, where all 32 Leo Advisory Panels are going to be presenting their views and what they've been working on throughout the year, and that's going to be on 11:30 on April 17th, which is a Saturday. Highly encourage you to join. And just after that, on April 24th, which coincidentally happens to be my birthday, we have Worldwide Induction Day, so please prepare for that and bring some new members into our organization so they can experience all the same things that all of us have had the privilege of experiencing. I think on the screen, you'll see we have an upcoming event hosted by my sponsoring club and several of their partners, the Lions Diabetes Symposium, where we're going to be joined by the spouse of the second Vice International President, Lori Sheehan, who is a leader in her own right, and alongside her daughter, who is going to be telling us all about what is important on Diabetes Alert Day and how we can continue to serve through diabetes and stay well ourselves. And that's going to be in partnership with Rutgers University, the Diabetes and Self-Management Program. And there's also another program later in the early April where they're going to be doing this symposium again as a full day program. So I highly encourage you all to check that out. And then on the screen again, and while that's getting pulled up our second slide, we have a Lions Telethon, which is going to be hosted by the Lions virtual team. Many of you may know them, but the Lions Telethon is going to be benefiting Campaign 100. I really encourage you. I think that I've spoken at length about all the great work that LCIF does, and I think that all of us can attest to what they do. So please go out and support the Telethon because you'll be empowering service worldwide. And I think that we've run a little bit over time, but I think that that's worth it for the great presentation we've had today. Thank you so much. Once again, please claim your attendance certificate, and please join us next week for Lead with the Vision, where we're going to be joined by PID Sangeeta, who happens to be from the same part of India as Lion AP. They have such great lines over there that we there's so many people to pick from.
We have great lines all over the world. We have great lines all over the world.
Great lines all over the world, but especially in that region of India. So please join us for that session. It's going to be on image building, how you can enhance your club, your local, and your own image. So please join us for that, and hope to see you all soon. And take care, everyone.
Thank you.